to all mates of Mates and Takes. We are just here to quickly say hello and say how excited we are for the upcoming episode.
Hello.
Cam.
Hello. Still hello. Yeah, very excited. Upcoming episode, a little two-parter.
It is indeed, and that's why we're here. We are just here to say this is part one of a two-part episode.
Hello.
I've brought Cam in for the hellos, and we're really excited. Cam, do you want to just give a quick disclaimer? We do in the episode, but it's worth just repeating.
Don't do drugs. They're really bad for you. No, seek out medical advice for anything. These are not recommendations that you should take them. Exercise caution. What else is there? Peer pressure's bad.
We shed some...
Fuck the patriarchy. Bits and pieces like that,
As this is an episode where it's like the best drugs, recreational drugs, in our opinion, we obviously talk about all these in quite a positive light. But we do try and talk about the pitfalls of all of this. And of course, there's a whole lot of that when it comes to drugs. So just be very aware of that. We're having a bit of fun with this one, so don't take it too seriously. And like Cam said, don't take our advice on any of this. But yeah, sit back and enjoy. And we'll see you in part two.
Hello.
2 nights ago, I had a lucid dream. And the one thing that cued me into the realization that I was dreaming is I was wearing shoes with no socks. And I looked down and I was inspecting. I went, I'd never do this. Never, ever. And then I snapped and realized I was having like a dream.
And you woke up and realized that you'd pissed your bed. And you're like, this is still the dream. And then your missus wake up and was like, no, it's not.
In that case, I'm still dreaming. And I'm getting ready to be woken up,
Yeah.
Have you ever trained yourself to lucid dream? Or
Mm.
tried to?
Looked into it when I was in high school.
Yeah,
and
same.
one of the things that they say is there's a strong chance you can have night terrors.
Yeah.
You can get trapped into give yourself a night terror.
Yeah, because you're in no man's land, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is throughout the day you're meant to go, this is a dream or this is not a dream. I can't remember, but you repeatedly say it throughout the day. And then did you also come across the cut ping pong balls in half and put them on your eyes and then shine UV light through them and you'll trip or some shit right before you go to sleep?
Ever heard of that one? I think you got duped, my bro.
I didn't do it. I was too busy with the eggshells. I thought they would work.
It's very creative. But at what point do you just go, should I just do drugs?
Yeah.
If you're doing incisions onto ping pong balls and setting up UV lighting, I think it's time to just
watching Inception.
just pop something up your butt at that point.
Speaking of which.
Well, thanks for joining me, guys, on my podcast. It's great to have guests each week. You guys seem to be the only guests I ever have. But
Only
that's cool.
friends you ever have.
What the hell?
That's why there's only 3 listeners to the pod.
Shut the fuck up. I mean,
Sorry.
I missed you guys.
Well, which is it?
Huh? Which is what?
Well, do you want us to shut the fuck up, or do you miss us, or both? You just want us to sit here in silence while you catch up with us?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Embrace the energy and embrace the silence,
This guy just says some salacious shit, hoping that Steen will delete it, and then he's offended us, but the podcast starts and no one knows.
He's said it every time. He always starts with, I love you guys. I miss you guys. He always does it.
Yeah.
Was he buttering us up or something?
Actually, he started off with, I'm in love with you guys.
No,
And he
isn't
made-
that how he ended?
I capped off
Yeah.
our last one. It was it's supposed to be a soap opera cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And you
Oh,
guys
wow.
barely reacted.
Yeah.
No, whatever.
Well, I suppose when you hear something so often.
What? Someone says, I'm in love with you. Not I love you like a friendship or a parent, but I'm in love with you. You just go, whatever.
From you, yeah.
Wow, the highs in your life must just seem not that high.
Yeah.
It's just you wear your heart on your sleeve. Every time I catch up with you for a coffee or dinner, you're basically
Closes
giving me
with.
hickeys and stuff. I'm used to the attention, the affection.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad this is just a warm-up
Yeah.
because we could probably just Control-Alt-Delete. How do you guys feel about a warm-up this week?
Yeah, like a J. Cole mixtape.
like right before you're about to take the court, get some jumpers up, get warm.
Get your calves massaged.
Yeah, use one of those massage guns incorrectly and then get cramped right before the...
No, I'm just like a male friend.
Those shits
Good
don't work.
friend.
Male friends work. Massage guns don't work. Fuck those Theraguns. Expensive piece of shit.
They are like such a... just taking advantage of a fad. Just being like, this is like kind of exciting technology that actually doesn't really serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you guys remember when those like iRobots were out?
Oh, yeah.
When someone woke up on Christmas and was like
Robo Sapiens.
moving, and then there was like a robot one, and that was like people were like, "This is the future."
That was me at 10 years old asking my parents for that for birthday and Christmas, and I got it for neither, and I was just like,
I'm really like
Lego.
I'm interested in knowing whether there is still like some product like that for kids that we're unaware of because we're not kids.
Yeah.
And it's like way up now. Like it can remember your name. It like talks back to you or some shit.
Hoverboards kind of missed us.
Yeah.
I wonder what the like entry point for price is for that sort of shit as well, because if you're a kid, it can't be too expensive because everyone knows that kids are just going to like it, the next fad, you know, like a fidget spinner is affordable and shit. And that's because like in a month, everyone knows it's going to be dog shit. But then at the same time, you're packing a whole bunch of technology in it, which is expensive. And it's kind of like, how do you navigate that? Probably virtual reality. And that's probably why like gaming, like Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox is so massive for those kids, because you can just always be in beta. It's affordable, but it also, you have all these fucking in-app purchases and you'll just cripple your parents' credit card.
It's like a good point because like
Yeah,
at
that
this,
kids, go into your mom's room, get a credit card, get yourself some Roblox. Been a tough week.
like what kid these days wants to play with Bionicles when they could like just have access to this like whole world out there of like Fortnite or whatever it might be that is like way more stimulating and like over the top.
Yeah.
Guys, let's do that warm up. Let's get Steam to throw out a random topic we have not heard before. Maybe give us however much time you want, anything from 10 to 30 seconds. And then just cue us. Tell us to shout something out, and we'll do it at the same time just so we can't cheat off of each other.
All right, well, I'll give you something really easy. Water. Best type of water or brand of water?
So that's what we're going for, just one word type of deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you 30 seconds.
Like identifiable trait of it, I guess.
You could go brand. You can tell me Fiji water is the best.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, let's...
Okay.
Something real simple. I'll give you something more difficult if you want, like coffee.
You know what? I think water
Water
somehow
is-
is
yeah,
difficult.
Why don't we take turns? We'll just take turns there so we don't go over top of each other.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
just don't
Yeah.
rax each other's.
yeah, okay.
It's fine if you do. It's just a warm.
No, I've got mine, and I'm not. I'll go first.
Okay.
No, actually, you'll steal mine.
Okay.
You don't want 30 seconds to look anything up?
Well, I've got one.
I don't need to look up water.
Yeah, I've got mine too.
Just checking.
Okay.
I can go first if you're too scared.
Yeah, no, do it, and I'll go right after you, so I can't.
Yeah, okay. Trick question. Just water from the Spirit Oasis to the South Pole Avatar.
Ice cold.
Antipodes. Hell yeah, bro. Or the Fountain of Youth.
So are we double dipping or are we just going for one?
No, Antipodes.
well,
good
hedging
with
your
that,
bets,
bro.
aren't
I'm good with that. I'm good with the Antipodes, bro.
All right, talk to us about this ice water that you've described.
You said ice water.
No, I said from
Nope,
Antarctica.
You're trying
or
to
something.
incept / project on me. This is some BS, Steen. I want you to mark points off him for that. I said spirit water from the oasis at the South Pole from Avatar, The Legend of Aang. It has healing properties. It literally brought Aang back from death. Top that.
Mine tastes nice.
What is yours?
Antipodes water. It's like that glass bottled water from New World that's like $6 a bottle. And when I first saw it, I went, that's pronounced antipodes. And I went around talking about like antipodes is such good water. And then all these rich people who drink Antipodes like, I'm better than you. I do Coke on the weekends and it's Antipodes.
Coca-Cola, folks. Is that the stuff in the make tonic water?
No. It's just normal filtered, super cold, super delicious water.
Okay. Because there is some nice stuff from the supermarket.
Fever Tree, I think that one's called.
Yes.
The tonic water,
Yes.
Fever Tree. Yeah,
And it
which is
comes in a little
great with it.
4-pack?
Yeah.
With gin?
So good with a gin and tea.
Oh my god, that's just delicious. Oliver, explain ice, cold water.
My stuff is cold. It is not bound by brand or a shop to get it at, and it's real.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be cold for much longer given climate change.
Oliver, you can attest to this. Me and you are on the same wavelength. I do concede that ice water is delicious. Yeah. Doesn't it just baffle you when people ask they don't like ice cold water? They want kind of more lukewarm water.
Yeah, I think it's like basically a cultural difference.
Yeah.
Like at that point, my partner Hillary lived in China for a year, and she came back and like just having warm water. I mean, tea was like huge over there, and like warm water. And she always used to say, "Well, like your body doesn't have to work as hard with warm water." And I was just like, I think my body can handle cold water.
If your body's working hard to heat up ice cold water,
Yeah,
your body's frail.
Something's wrong.
That's the shit they do at like retirement homes.
Yeah.
You know,
they're
they're
like, we can't give him that.
It's like Jerry, only 2 ice cubes today, mate. That is too much.
and they gotta be like, hey. Oh, okay, all right. He's just sleeping.
There's a spot at work because we've got like multiple water fountains working at the gym, and everyone goes to one fountain because it's the best. Like everyone knows that one fountain has the coldest, best water at like the rec.
I second
Hands down.
that. What you said about Hillary in China. I got with the Chinese folks to lunch, and they don't want water.
Wow.
We have water brought over, whether it's cold or not. I offer it to them every time. You want me to pour you a glass? And they go, no. We're waiting for the tea.
Where do you guys
They
fall
want
with
like a scorching hot tea over
any time of year? Doesn't
any
matter.
time of year. Cold, hot, doesn't matter.
Where do you fall with lemon in your tea? I mean, in your water.
I don't personally do it. If someone brings it over to me, I'll go, "Ooh, all right, you know.
It's like if it's in a jug full of ice and there's lemon wedges in it, or or lime, that's cool. But I'll never that'll be at your mum's place. You'll never do it yourself.
No, yeah. It's a surprising jump. Like whoever that person was, where they were like, I'm just going to chuck this extremely strong citrus flavor. I'm just chucking a whole wedge in there. It's got disgusting little lemon, pubes that just like float around on the surface. And they're like, cafe's going to be popping after this. Like, why was that who was the innovator? Probably Charles F.
Guy at
Fleming.
my work comes to work every day with a water bottle the size of Oliver's, filled with probably 5 lemons cut up and ice.
Wow.
What?
Every day.
Is there like health properties?
Do you
to,
work at the Hilton? What the fuck? This man's living good.
Oh, they don't pay Hilton staff very well. Maybe if he owned the Hilton.
And also, not the Hilton, bro, the Tipton.
Wow. I shall pay.
Just before I ask Steen who he felt, won that rebound at the start, My Zone Mandarin flavor, very delicious. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember it being very delicious as a child, and then having it again as an adult and thinking it tasted slightly medicine-like.
No, they would have changed the formula.
Just like they changed
Milo. Yeah, to life or whatever the fuck
She
it is
used
now.
to F me up when I was a
Yeah.
kid at the Net Caf, and now I went back to it. I'm like, they changed the shit.
That ain't shit. Yeah.
I think your tolerance is just kind of...
Nah, bro, they changed the Krabby Patty from Super Formula. I didn't. It's not me. It's the drink.
Well, straight off the bat, it's cold water.
Like that cold water?
Yeah, from the tap. I assume it's from the tap, right?
From the tap?
Or anywhere.
It's from Antarctica.
just cold
he
water.
Said.
Cold water.
He
Yeah.
said
It's
it's
just-
from
it's just the
Antarctica.
temperature
No
of the
taps,
water.
no plumbing.
I mean, it would have been spirit water from the Oasis of Avatar, but then I realized I can't actually get that here.
Right.
And then both of you were selling it off back to cold water.
You're sucking on old cold water's balls over here,
Yeah, because mine is cold water,
yours is cold water, just shelved.
but just not as good. Okay,
You're
sweet.
just more barriers eventually
Mine,
to get
sorry.
to
So
yours.
you said I can never have spirit water. Are you going to Antarctica anytime soon? Because you can go to New World, Hillcrest New World, Tarapa New World, Morrinsville New World, Cambridge New World. Fucking name a New World, you can go to it, and that's where mine is. You going to Antarctica anytime soon?
Why New World?
Why Antarctica?
Well, it's the best.
That's what you
but-
said. You
why
said
Countdown?
Antarctica water.
No, I said ice water. I'm talking about his one. I was like, what, you got to go
Yeah,
to
that is
Antarctica?
correct.
So you're not going to Antarctica. Yours is just ice water.
Well, I wouldn't win if it was Antarctic water. Jesus.
Hey, bro. Hey,
It's like this
hands up. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I thought yours was from the South Pole and yours was from Antarctica. And I was like, you motherfuckers, you well-traveled
You must
explorers.
have been like, there's actually an easier way to get this stuff, guys.
And then I said to you about climate change. You're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I fucking nailed him there. And
No,
then,
I thought you just meant like room temperature is going to go up and ruin your ice cubes.
Shit.
It goes like this: New World, new save, countdown. Don't ever go there, but pack and save.
Go to Pack and Save if you've run out of cat litter at 6 in the morning.
Go to pack and save if you want to be depressed and or kill yourself.
Or get better prices for everything.
No,
Cheapest, you know?
You pay the price.
it's a sad place.
Sell your dignity. Save the 10 cents on onions. You know? Cool, I'm glad I won that one. And now let's get into it.
Fellas, let's talk drugs, specifically recreational drugs. I'm here to chat with you guys to get your takes on, I guess, what we believe to be the top 3 recreational drugs.
And just to be clear, you can do any drug recreationally, so it can be any drug.
I guess so.
guess.
But I guess we're not going to talk to maybe the medicinal side of it as much as like the recreational benefits.
Oh, that's yeah.
I mean, you can still talk about it. I mean, it's great, but
Yeah, no, fuck me.
Hell yeah. Thank you for joining us.
that's actually great timing because Dave was clearly on something walking into a live podcast. I'm
Yeah.
guessing like,
We run a tight ship here. That's all that you need to know.
and also like if he was on drugs and he popped open this door, not really know, like maybe he thought it was like a storage unit, and he saw all these guys in a podcast studio, he'd be like, "That's a little stronger than I thought."
The comedic timing on that one was just.
Cam, maybe let's talk a little bit about maybe a disclaimer before we dive right in.
Yeah, we're not medical professionals. Please don't take this as a suggestion that we think that you should do any of these. We're not saying you're going to be more cool or less cool if you do or don't do these. You're not like your life is not guaranteed to be better if you have anxiety or depression, if you have a history of mental health and wellness or illness issues. Don't listen to this for medical advice. Like that is a massive you problem. If you're like, what do Liam, Cam, and Oliver suggest I should prescribe myself? Please get a medical professional to give you recommendations.
I'd also like to quickly interject that Dave is against drugs.
Oh, well, hey Dave, I assume you're going to be watching this or listening. Sorry to kind of defame you there.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak to everyone's kind of arguments, but I think when we talk about drugs here, we're talking about using them responsibly. We're talking about, like being smart around drugs. And as an employee of the university, I would like to point out that I'm not admitting to doing any drugs that I talk about, but, I have enough friends and the internet to get a grasp on these things. So I guess don't arrest me or fire me. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously you can have an adverse reaction to taking Panadol. These are all secondhand accounts that we're talking about.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I've done a fucking ton of everything.
And this is a comedy podcast. Don't
Yeah.
take what we're saying seriously.
Yeah,
Everything's a joke, obviously. I don't love these. I'm not in love with these guys. It's a joke, guys.
Yeah, okay. Who should we go get Dave to see who goes first? We'll be like, Dave, who do you think should go first?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Come on, let's go.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Tee us off.
my god.
I just like hearing the smooth caramel sound of your voice in my ears, bro.
And you're not in love with me? Okay.
You can be. Just you go.
All right, what a gun to my head if you told me I had to pick 3 drugs that I consider to be the best. And at number 3 would be cannabis, aka marijuana, aka weed, aka grass, aka ganja, aka bomb dank, aka not chronic. What was that? What it was called? K2, not K2.
No, K2 was synthetic.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying not K2.
Yeah.
Just off the bat, when I was doing a little bit of research in terms of like perceived harm, even just based on like hospital admits, cannabis is like relatively down the bottom. If you put it on the same scale as like meth and cocaine and you know, all the drugs that you can get into, it was like bottom 3 or 4, and in the top 3 or 4 was synthetic cannabis. This shit was terrifying maybe 10 years ago.
It's still pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, back then it was kind of unregulated.
What they did was because the FDA or whatever New Zealand's equivalent of that is, they would illegalize specific chemical compounds, thus constituting whatever it might be. And so you would have this drug that portended to be or claimed to be like synthetic cannabis, and then you go, no, that's illegal with that molecular makeup. And so then they would go, sweet, we're going to change the molecular makeup by this much. So they changed it a little bit, and that's why you had all of these different strains that were affecting so many different people, because it was regulated, and they just went, the law equals this makeup, because you have to be super specific, right? And they just kept taking all of these substances and just altering them minorly to points where, you know, we didn't know what the fuck it was doing.
And
terrifying stuff, man. Really scary.
As not employee of the university, I have done K2 before, and it's fucked up.
Wow.
How would you describe the high of K2 compared to like your standard cannabis high?
So I smoked weed as well, obviously. Who hasn't? Should have been legal. The referendum was a joke. So K2 was like a strong, like a more steep peak, but for a shorter time. So like you get really high for like 15 minutes, and then you just feel like burnt out, like tired when you wake up, but it's because you're coming down from your high type thing. And also it can like give you like really bad headaches. It's like some of the most terrible shit. Synthetic cannabis is like the worst thing ever.
That sounds horrible, because if you're someone who has smoked weed before, you know that like getting too high is kind of one of the little potholes you can find yourself in when you try weed, and like some people chase that, but to kind of just be, I guess, popped in a rocket and like shot up into a high, like in a 15-minute high, just sounds like a fucking shit time.
Yeah.
So if it's not K2 that you're talking about, what are you talking about rather than shooting yourself off in a rocket?
So I'm describing a drug that I'm glad Liam kind of spoke to its legal status, because this is both my opinion, but also like based off of a lot of scientific stuff. It's a little silly that alcohol would be legal and weed isn't, when you take into account some of the harm it causes, like especially when you look at things like harm to others, which is a really big one. That like potential scenarios of becoming aggressive, potentially committing crime, being violent is like attached and tethered to alcohol, whereas none of those same traits kind of come across to weed. And the reason I kind of compare the two is because essentially there's no reason why you can't substitute kind of one for the other in certain situations. Not in really social ones, but like say if you were someone who liked to have a beer or 2 or 3 after work, potentially substituting that with weed and kind of enjoying some kind of euphoric period of time could be a much healthier alternative kind of in the long run.
Couldn't agree more, brother.
I think I read the exact same study that you did, because it's like the one where they rank all of them, right? And it's got, so just to explain, it's got so a list of all of the sort of substances that you can kind of quickly name, and then it has sort of a proportion at which this is harmful to yourself and a proportion at which this is harmful to others. And the way that they measured harm to others is amount of crime directly relating to intoxication of the substance. So right at the top was alcohol, second was heroin, I'm pretty sure. Marijuana did have like an acknowledgeable harm to yourself, but it had 0 harm to others. And so we're not saying, it's perfect. It's none of that. It's just based off literal scientific and economic literature.
Yeah, well, New Zealand has like a particularly vicious binge drinking culture. And I think if you just went to people and said, hey, would you like to smoke weed instead of drink? And they were just like, yeah, I would. Okay, it's legal. You can go to a shop and you can buy it for like $20 instead of like 24 beers. People would just like be more chill. There'd be no, well, I wouldn't say there's going to be no people driving intoxicated, but people are less likely. You're like embrazened on alcohol to drive drunk. Whereas like people who are high, a lot of people get anxious and don't want to drive.
If I asked you guys like being intoxicated on alcohol, let's just say if it's like a similar, essentially the same level from alcohol and weed. So with alcohol, what's the likelihood of you being in a crash? Like how many times multiplied does it become the chance compared to sober? If you had to guess.
Fuck. I mean, I try not to think about it because the
I mean, I guess it
magnification's
depends
crazy,
how drunk
right?
you are.
Yeah, so I'm talking
yeah.
about like an average. So alcohol on average 14 times you're more likely to be in a crash. Weed is twice. It's 2 times as likely.
I'll take those odds.
So so obviously don't smoke and drive,
Yeah,
but
obviously.
I guess you just become like twice as clumsy rather than fucking 14 times.
That's a really good point. How you say like alcohol makes you embrazen, like it makes you feel bulletproof, and that is like a pretty standard either side effect or main effect of alcohol, right? Like the whole appeal of it is lower your inhibitions, whereas marijuana frequently it's actually increase those inhibitions. Oh fuck, am I annoying these people? Oh fuck, have I already said that? Oh shit, have I been listening to the song for 2 hours? And a lot of those times initially, that while that can be overwhelming, when you kind of learn to just ride that wave, it actually can allow for a lot more introspection. It can allow for a lot more honesty. It can allow for a lot more of just like self-awareness of yourself, both sober and intoxicated, which I would argue, having dealt with a fucking ton of ignorant people in town who are just drunk like there's no tomorrow, could do with a little bit of self-awareness.
It's certainly not a perfect drug. I mean, there is no such thing. When you kind of think about it, when you zoom out, having it, quite often will be, pretty clearly detrimental. You're not really going to be the sharpest that you could be if you are, let's say, smoking every day or, quite frequently. But, cannabis offers you this chance to smoke something and be transported back in time to like your childhood kind of child state of mind where you are just excited about things that you just don't get excited about anymore. And it's just this I don't know, it's just this very interesting, and like it can be quite powerful to take your mind to those places. And yeah, I think it's a very worthy candidate, kind of honestly at any place on this list, but I mean, I've got a few others that I really like, so I've popped it at number 3.
Yeah, I think marijuana is currently tethered to like a moral and ethical question where, like you pointed out, it makes no sense that alcohol is legal, and marijuana is not. Unfortunately, it does make sense if you consider how much money is in alcohol currently, and then you go, all right, that is why. Like Prohibition 1, marijuana was taboo and demonized for many, many years and decades. And so now it's just like, well, slowly that generation and that line of thinking is dying out. And I'm sure like not without some of their merits, some of these arguments and blah, blah, blah. But nonetheless, like I do think it's time that it needs to have a refreshed conversation. It was quite interesting. I went to the Netherlands a few years ago. No big deal. I'm a world traveler, 6 countries and counting. And I went to a coffee shop there, and of course, marijuana has been legal since I think 2003. And I bought 2 joints, and I remember sat there in a room filled with people of all different types who were also smoking. And I bought a lighter, lit the joint, and the terror that was in my hands. My hands were shaking, and I had this overwhelming, prior to smoking anything, fear that this was an elaborate 16-year hoax of just arresting me for doing this thing. They were like, we're going to disseminate that this thing is legal. We're going to trick him. It's all fake news. And as soon as he goes there and he buys those things and he puts them in his mouth, he's going to get arrested immediately. And that was not a fun feeling. But everything else about it was great. It made the Rijksmuseum absolutely beautiful.
That reminds me of the story I heard. There's like there's experimental drugs that aren't legal in the US that like can help you get off like meth or like heroin. And it's like a very intense experience where like you go into a state where like you just curled over and you like hallucinate for like 3 days. You have to go to like a special center in Mexico.
Ayahuasca?
No,
No,
it's
what
not
is this thing
ayahuasca. I
called?
can't remember what it's called, but
Yeah.
this guy explains his experience on it, and he like went there, tried it, it didn't work. He went home, relapsed on heroin, and then it was all in his trip.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, like that intense.
Ibogaine.
Yeah,
That's what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Click on the fucking pull.
I was like, it's not methadone. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Far out.
ruthless.
Quite scary stuff.
All right,
Scary how
human.
powerful.
All right, human computer Cam. What have you got in at number 3?
I have MDMA. Mostly actually because it's quite funny to see someone else with their jaw no longer working. And you go, this person thinks that they are holding it perfectly together.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, their shirt is covered in alcohol.
Sweating profusely.
They're sweating so much. They're holding 2 drink bottles and be like, I love this song. You're like, are you sure this is Toxic by Britney Spears? And it's just like, did you not even think that maybe you had your sexual awakening to this music video? I love this song so much. And you're just like, whoa, this person is, there's a reason R&B has I Love You Hill or whatever it's called. Like the amount of euphoria. I mean, the fucking nickname for it is ecstasy. The euphoria you feel during an MDMA experience is quite, I mean, in my experience at least, unique. And I've had like 2 awakenings. Both of these times, these were in countries where this thing is legal. 2 awakenings where I was just like, I'm focused too much on what other people think about me, and I need to actually reduce the amount of self-consciousness, what's it called? Like, basically just stop hating yourself for aspects that are completely arbitrary when every other person is completely self-absorbed. And that, I mean, happened in the middle of a concert, and you're just like, wow, this is a weird thing to experience with like 30,000 people heart beating at the same time at like 180 BPM. And you're like, well, good for you guys. But yeah, that's what I've got at number 3.
It's funny how you talk about like people chewing your ear off on the other side of it, because we talked about that chart where it was like harm to yourself and harm to others. MDMA would just be like harm to others, annoying.
Yeah, benefit to your dentist, massive. It's like,
yeah. I just want to go on record saying toxic slaps. Also, it's very interesting. Like, we don't think about drugs as an MDMA in the same light as like weed or maybe acid, in that they're psychoactive. Like, people just think, oh, it's the feeling you get, not what you think. But all drugs are psychoactive because they stimulate, centers in your brain.
Receptors,
That's what makes you feel that.
yeah.
And then thinking that, what else does it do to your brain? You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting, and it's so understudied. It's criminally understudied.
Have you ever popped a MDMA
Never
up
have.
your butt?
Never have, brother.
For real?
Read things on the internet. Never have.
My, so first of all, I think
It's
there was a
illegal in
large,
New Zealand. You know that, eh?
To pop it up your butt?
To just be in possession of it.
there was a large misconception that it fucked up your spinal fluid, all because of Eminem's first album, I think, where he's got a song and he just talks about like, you do that stuff too many times, it'll fuck up your spinal fluid. And like you say, there's no research on it. And so people were just like, oh shit, this is going to fuck me up. And then you do research on it, because getting it through ethics is a fucking nightmare. And you're like, oh, actually that doesn't happen. And whilst I'm not saying that therefore, because it doesn't fuck up your spine, like everything else is dandy, but the more access to research for it, if you remove this taboo on any drug, but specifically let's just use this, is going to lead to increased interest and understanding in it. And my favorite study of MDMA, one of few, is what they did was they got basically they had a person enter a room, and this person believed that the room was filled with 19 other volunteers, but in fact there were 19 other stooges. So every person in this room was in on the study except for the test subject. And prior to entering the room, they administered either marijuana or MDMA. Then what they did was the other 19 people had a rubber ball and they passed it around in the circle, but they never gave it to the test subject. And then they asked them to record their feelings after it. People on marijuana, as I said before, can get quite self-conscious and self-aware, and they went, why are these people not passing me the ball? I don't deserve to have the ball passed to me. It's just not good. I must be bad at this. They know I'm clumsy. The people who had taken MDMA literally thought every time they were involved in some way with the pass, both receiving and giving pass, every time they were just like, this is amazing, man. Everyone's just passing the ball around. I've got the ball, you've got the ball, we've all got the ball. And it was such a communal feeling. And I'm like, well, fuck, if that's one study where it's obviously lighthearted and fun, if you can open that door, you're going to understand this thing a lot better.
I believe there's treatments being done where MDMA is being used to cure PTSD in soldiers.
Yeah.
Anything that can help people get over PTSD in any way, shape, or form, I think is amazing.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Did MDMA get the nod over cocaine, maybe based on like price and like maybe ability to access it, like in countries outside of the US and
You're
Europe?
just
and
thinking
things?
New Zealand, bro. Coke is still the king everywhere else.
Coke is definitely the king. I do certainly think that MDMA has it's got this like funny factor to it that is both laugh at and laugh with kind of thing, whereas Coke has connotations of sure like hard partying and obviously like notoriously well known for being a massive high and stuff. It's also like, oh yeah, Wall Street did that when they were just fucking a whole bunch of people in the ass with all of their stocks and they were just doing this, that, the other thing on Coke. And it's kind of like, okay, it's got this name to it that is so complicated, whereas MDMA is just like, yeah, you're 19, of course you're fucking chewing your face off. Not saying that's good, I'm just saying that's funny.
MDMA at its best is a drug you take right before a big concert around, you know, festival season. At its worst, you take it every single weekend head to House on Hood.
Exactly right.
And
Or
you just have to take
bar.
stock. You just have to take stock and figure out which side of that line you're kind of sitting on.
I'll tell you why people prefer MDMA. Younger generation prefers MDMA over cocaine. Cocaine is like heavily tied in with the cartels, and MDMA is available from just random guys in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's like literally 20-year-old guys making it in their rooms and then shipping it out through the darknet.
Recently, there was a massive cocaine bust in the South Island.
Documentary on it.
Where 3 individuals had, I think 3, perhaps 7, had been arrested for importing like millions of dollars worth of cocaine. It's the largest drug bust in New Zealand history, and it happened about 2 months ago in Christchurch.
Oh, wow.
That's all.
MDMA, great drug to pair with talking on a podcast, probably. You'd have a lot to say.
Got no idea what you're talking about.
I'm not sweating.
Liam, talk to us about your third place.
Yeah, baby. Smack. Coke. That's my third place.
Smack.
That yay.
You're starting to fidget quite a lot in your seat. Like, are you
Fixin'.
this guy's a sales rep.
No, I just watched Dope Sick. I finished it off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
my
up to episode 6, so just be careful with the spoilers.
Okay. Just so depressing.
Is dope sick oxys?
Yeah.
Oof.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
1 in 3 women over 40 years old addicted to oxys
In
What?
the world.
in America.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
It portrays it as being like
What's the numbers on how much times stronger it is than morphine?
like 100.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more accessible, obviously, nowadays.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, man.
Scary stuff, cocaine. Yeah.
Anyways.
Jeez.
So cocaine. I just think it's so interesting and so like there's so much rich history tied in with it. Like everyone must have seen Narcos by now. Like Colombia in the 70s, 80s, just like making so much money. Made just a common criminal into one of the most famous, biggest drug lords the world's ever seen. Obviously, I don't know. People have done it. I haven't done it. People say it's pretty good. Yeah, I just think it's so.
How would people describe the high?
I mean, it's so hard. Like when people describe feelings, you know what I mean? Like obviously they said euphoric, things like that, but it's so hard to. I think it's so hard to convey feelings to people. That's why whenever people say stuff, I more go off like, how badly do people want this? How much is it valued at? What has it done? Like, what is the causations of this drug? And then you can kind of get an idea. Like, weed, marijuana, it might not be as illegal, but it's also not worth as much. And also people, I guess, don't care about it as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's never going to be a referendum on legalized coke.
Yeah, exactly.
They just know that that's not feasible.
Quite interesting, like talking about the experience of the drugs, because I think with both your number 3 picks, I think quite often you'll probably be drinking while you do these drugs as well. So like now you're talking about an experience that is kind of like intertwined with the drunk experience, which is quite interesting. I mean, not to say that doesn't happen with weed, but I think probably it separates itself out a little more, which is, I'm not saying that's.
Sure, if you spoke with like a candid health professional, they would not recommend that you combine any narcotics with alcohol.
Oh, definitely. And for that, on the same measure, just not any narcotics with each other either. Like, don't ever combine drugs.
Yeah. I mean, think about how many people go like, I can't mix drinks. I have a bad hangover the next day. We'll now do that across different fucking chemicals.
It's just on even like moderate pain medication. If you take more than the 2 per hour or whatever they say it is, you can die from that.
Yeah.
So I mean, just think about you're trusting someone to bring you this substance that they probably don't know where they got it from, but where they did get it from was probably just some guy's house where he made that stuff in his garage with not clean equipment or anything like that.
I mean, particularly we're heading into summer, right? And like, who knows what's going to happen around festivals, particularly in the red zones. But last year's...
They've made it legal to drug test.
Yeah,
how does that work? Is that like... you can't be done for having drugs in that tent or something?
Exactly.
No, you're fine. So you take it and they test the quality.
The police is like outside the door and he's like, oh, you're outside. I got you.
Nah, so I think the like obviously if they have those tents, I imagine they'll have some kind of regulation around what the police can do. Yeah. I think the idea is like, we know people take drugs and we just want you to do it in a safe way and in a way that you know what you're taking. I mean, I haven't ever had an experience, but like how many cops are really there to try and bust you on drugs? It's more like keeping people safe and like, you know, kind of arresting people that are being problematic.
Yeah, I don't think police are keen to catch individuals who are just down to take one marijuana. But they want to catch people who are distributing.
Yeah, definitely.
If I told you, hey, listen, Liam, you have to take some cocaine, and I give you a Saturday, and I say, here's the cocaine, and you can do whatever you want. And what's the one activity that you pick right after you
start a business?
Would you want to do it right before heading into town? Would you want to do it right before making a painting or like giving a presentation? Like what do you think would be like a really good experience to pair it with?
Just based on what I've seen in TV and movies and what I've read on the internet, I would want to have close friends of mine come over to a house party.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go to town.
Right.
So a bit more like intimate kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can control the environment.
You'd be dishing out massages, I reckon, shoulder rubs.
Anytime you're going to do any kind of drug for the first time, you want to be in a safe environment you know you have control over.
Set and setting.
And that was part 1 of how many parts, Cam?
16 hours of drugs. We talk about them for so long. We got good drugs. We got bad drugs. 16 hours of it. Come on down.
That was part 1 of 2 parts. And
two parts of 16.
Stick around for the next episode where it's just part 2. There will be no other parts after that. It's roughly another 40 minutes. Definitely not another 16 hours of drugs.
And tune into my own podcast where I talk about drugs for 16 hours. Hello.
I don't think that's real. So there will be no link to any spin-off cam drug podcast. But see you next week for part 2.
Goodbye.